Only you. Only you and no one else. Her lips trembled as she whispered, longing for his kiss. She ached for his warmth, his tenderness. She loved him with every piece of her soul. Back then, it felt like nothing and no one could stand in the way of their happiness. Now Daisy struggles to hold back tears. How did it come to this? How did the people closest to her tear her and Ethan apart? When Ethan finally spoke to her parents about marriage, their reaction was swift and brutal. Absolutely not, because her older sister wasn't married yet. She was supposed to be next. Vera is of the right age to settle down, they insisted. Daisy can wait. After that conversation, Ethan changed. He became distant, withdrawn. He even started avoiding Daisy altogether. She wanted to talk to him, to tell him that she suspected something, that she might be pregnant. She was barely 18. But Vera, she was well into her 20s. That's why their parents were so worried. She wasn't the easiest person, stubborn, proud, and frankly not the type to attract the right kind of men. Daisy had often caught her sister watching Ethan with a strange expression. Half envy, half something she couldn't quite place. Vera would ask endless questions about their relationship, their love. And Daisy, naive and trusting, had told her everything. Because why wouldn't she? They were sisters, family. There weren't supposed to be secrets between them. Daisy was nothing like Vera. She was open, kind, soft-hearted, and maybe that's exactly why she was the one who ended up getting hurt. One day, a neighbor girl pulled her aside, whispering that she'd seen Vera with Ethan. Then she pointed in the direction they had gone. Daisy ran. She knew exactly where to find them, and then suddenly she stopped. There they were, Vera beaming, wrapped in Ethan's arms, and they were so caught up in each other. They never even saw her standing there. The trees were slowly shedding their leaves. Autumn had settled in completely. Fall, the season of weddings, Daisy thought bitterly, but not hers. Just like the leaves drifting away, so did her love. Her love for her parents, for her sister, for Ethan. All of it replaced by anger and heartbreak. She had been betrayed, and not by strangers, by the very people she trusted most. Her parents had convinced Ethan to marry Vera, because Vera had to be the first to get married. She wasn't exactly known for her beauty or her charm. Most men simply passed her by. But she was talkative, always knew what to say. She had the attitude of a woman twice her age. Where did she even get that from? People used to whisper. But when it came to Daisy, no one worried. She was beautiful, kind, wise beyond her years. She had no shortage of admirers. And yet she had chosen Ethan, the man who was almost 5 years older than her. Oh, Mom, Dad, what have you done? You wish happiness for one daughter, but you're destroying the life of the other. They had crushed her love as if it meant nothing. Maybe they simply couldn't understand. That true love isn't just stolen kisses and warm embraces. It's something deeper, something real. Daisy said nothing. She just watched. It was as if she had become invisible. No one spoke to her. No one acknowledged her presence in the house. A month passed. Then one evening, as they finished dinner, her father said, "In 2 days, Vera will be getting engaged." Daisy didn't ask who the groom was. She already knew. She could have stopped it. She could have told them about the child she was carrying. Ethan's child, but she chose not to. Seeing how he had already distanced himself from her, she didn't even tell him. She couldn't, because he avoided her at all costs. It's fine, Daisy told herself. They'll all find out soon enough. Time will reveal everything. She didn't feel ashamed about bringing a child into the world without a husband. Let the shame fall on those who tore us apart and denied this baby a father. That's what she told herself. But deep inside, she had never felt more alone. She made up her mind. Let them have their engagement. She would be there. She would show them all that she didn't care who he married. So on that Sunday when Vera's engagement took place, Daisy remained remarkably calm. Ethan looked uncomfortable, avoiding her gaze the entire time. Before long, the wedding came and went. He took Vera to live with his family. Daisy exhaled in relief. At least she wouldn't have to see them every day. Men still pursued her, but she rarely went out. She craved solitude. She kept herself busy, sewing, weaving, creating such intricate patterns that people couldn't help but admire her work. Her parents praised their talented daughter. And Daisy? She just smiled. No one in the house really noticed her, especially in the evenings. The days were short and darkness fell early. She's working. Let her be. But Daisy was stronger than she looked. She held herself together until one day her mother finally saw it, and when she did, chaos erupted. Daisy had had enough. She let it all out. Every emotion, every grievance she had held inside for so long. And soon after, she gave birth to a son. She named him Ethan. In a small town, gossip spreads fast, and people knew Daisy and Ethan had been together. When the truth came out, Ethan was stunned, because Vera was also expecting. And now so was Daisy, except her son was already here. And the boy? He was Ethan's mirror image. How had no one noticed before? That's all he could think about. The sisters' parents were in shock. They fought constantly, blaming each other. They kept pressing Daisy for answers. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" But she only replied, "You didn't need me to. You had already made all the decisions for our future." They didn't let Ethan near her. He couldn't even talk to her. A year passed. Her little boy was already running around the house, impossible to keep still. Ethan would occasionally visit his in-laws, but always with Vera and their daughter. And even then, it felt more like an obligation than anything else. One day he saw Daisy's son up close, and the resemblance hit him like a punch to the gut. "Crazy, isn't it?" people in town whispered. "His daughter looks nothing like him. But Daisy's boy? He's the spitting image of Ethan." Plenty of men courted Daisy. Some even asked for her hand in marriage. But she refused them all. People gossiped. What is she waiting for? No one cares that she has a kid, and she still turns them down. Meanwhile, Vera kept a secret from her parents. Her marriage was falling apart. The day Ethan saw his son for the first time, something in him changed. One night he came home and simply said, "I don't want to be with you anymore." Because suddenly Vera wasn't good enough for him. He still feared his parents' judgment, but whenever they weren't around, he made her life miserable. The insults, the resentment, it never stopped. She could hardly stand it anymore. But she kept quiet, because deep down, she knew. She had brought this on herself. Vera had always been jealous of her sister. She had watched Ethan from afar, secretly wanting him for herself. And in the end, she had seduced him. But now, she had to face the truth. The love he had shared with Daisy was real. And what she had with Ethan, it wasn't. Sure, she had liked him, and she had wanted to be married. So when their parents arranged it, she agreed. But now she couldn't let him go. Even though he had already made it clear, live wherever you want, with your parents, with mine. I don't care, but I'm leaving. Once Daisy and I work things out, I'm moving in with her and our son. But how could he work things out with her? He knew. He was the one who had betrayed her. One day, Ethan finally set his pride aside and walked straight to Daisy's house, with one goal in mind. First, he spoke to her parents. Or rather, he didn't let them speak. He raised his voice and said simply, "I'm leaving Vera, but I will take care of my son. He is my responsibility." Then he sat with Daisy for hours. He held his son, played with him, never letting him go. And Daisy, she had been waiting for this moment. "Only you, and no one else," her lips whispered. The next day, they moved into Ethan's grandmother's old house. They didn't rush to get married, because Vera, stubborn and spiteful, refused to give him a divorce. So they just lived, making up for lost time. Vera, meanwhile, moved back into her parents' home. And before long, a widower came to ask for her hand. She had once had a crush on him, so she didn't hesitate. She said yes. Peter took her and her daughter into his home, and then she decided she was finally ready to divorce Ethan. In the end, the sisters got married almost at the same time. It was never her fate to be with Ethan, it was Daisy's. And the strange thing was, Vera never regretted it. Soon she and Peter had 2 children of their own. And as for Daisy and Ethan, they finally found peace. They never stopped cherishing each other, loving each other. And that love, their true love, was something they passed down to their son and two daughters.